Hi, it's Sirop, and this is the No BS guide on how to make money with Claude Code. Let's jump in. So I've been running an AI automation business for over 2 years now, and I have only seen 4 ways that you can sell Claude Code to businesses. And these are small or mid-sized businesses and also local ones. Now, the first way that you can sell Claude Code as a service is to set up these second brain setups. And no, here I'm not talking about selling local skills to businesses because I don't believe this is actually selling. And all of these videos are quite misleading. And no, we are also not building a crazy animation that you would give a business that they will never use. What I actually sell in this service is you come in as an automation consultant, you speak to them about how do they do their current workflows. So you would do some sort of an audit where you would sit with either the business owner or maybe a head of department, etc., whoever you're working with, and you will see where all the inefficiency is happening in the different departments. It could be on the marketing, the sales, etc. And you will define these processes together with them, and you would try to automate them with AI or with automation. And after you defined all these processes, you basically create one repository for the company, something that looks like this. Let's say you're automating the processes for an agency, for example. They would have their second brain in a folder which contains all the automations that they have based on all the opportunities that you have discovered with them. For example, when I ran this for my own agency, we discovered that we're doing a lot of accounting that is still super manual. We're doing a lot of posting. We've been doing a lot of video editing, etc. So after you have audited all of these, you start to implement these workflows inside the company. And the idea here is most of these workflows are also tools. So I use Tela, for example, for the video editing. I use School for the courses that I have. And you as an automation consultant, you need to be able to connect these tools for the business owner so that they don't need to do any of the work, which means you need to work with some APIs. You need to put them here in the environment variables, build automations that are usually based on code. But of course, Claude Code can help you here to build these automations. For example, this is an automation that I've built for Finance Sync Up that downloads all the invoices for me and sync it with my accounting tool. And as you see, there's a lot of files here, and you should be a little bit familiar with what is happening. And you see there's a lot of Python code that is written as well. So this is what the customer is buying. The customer is not buying some dashboards, is not buying some fancy automations. And the goal here is to either schedule these automations to run daily, weekly, or based on a trigger. So this is what people are buying right now, and they call it a second brain, which is this whole entire setup. Everything is connected. They can either chat with it, chat with Claude, and then Claude will perform certain tasks, or it is a scheduled automation using, for example, Claude Desktop or Claude Cowork. And the value that this customer would get is to replace about 20 hours of admin work. And the people that I saw are buying these things are either solo founders, small agencies, maybe coaches as well. This is what is been selling to these guys. You can try to also sell it to larger companies, but then you have to deal with bigger problems like how do we share the setup with multiple people? How do we make sure that certain people have access to specific data and doesn't have access to other data? And you need to think about scalability. So for me, as a beginner, if you're starting selling second brains, it fits very well for smaller companies and solo founders. Now, the second thing that sells really well is developing AI agents. And here again, I'm not talking about selling someone a skill or a file. This is not what AI agents are about. But basically, you build AI agents using the Claude SDK. And if you're unfamiliar with Claude SDK, you can go to their docs and look up the Claude SDK. They basically have a SDK in Python. It is basically a wrapper that you can build your agents and define steps that would happen as a workflow. So it is no longer Claude Code as a CLI, but it's, for example, it's a Python library that you create certain code to solve a particular use case. For example, the use case could be customer support or automatically documenting certain things when a trigger happens, or getting a transcript from your AI note taker, taking some notes, pushing it to Slack, and then updating some databases. So an entire workflow can then be built using these SDKs. And what is interesting here is that this is something that can be deployed on the cloud. And if you want to use an AI solution and run it for a company, this is what you need. You cannot be building just with skills and second brains, but you need to start to build workflows using the Claude Code SDK deployed on a cloud, for example, somewhere in Europe, etc. This gives you the most flexibility to build AI agents and use the Cloud Code harness to build these agents. Some very common AI agents that I've built was connecting Jira or these big applications that usual mid-size companies work with, connecting GitHub, some APIs, Slack, and then you have an autonomous task execution that is done for everybody. So if all the employees want to write some documentation, the moment maybe someone writes some code or do some update, this is how you build these software. It's no longer building just skills and local tools. And the target audience for this particular solution is tech teams and agencies. And in my experience, this sells very well to small to mid-sized companies because then they utilize Cloud Code as a concept, but it is then hosted somewhere in the cloud rather than on people's local machines. And this Cloud Code SDK gives you the absolute most flexibility, especially if you're selling to European companies, because you can then host it on European clouds. The other version is to use the managed agents from Cloud Code, which always send the data to the US. So you can't sell it here in Europe. That one is easier because it's all managed by Anthropic. So you don't have to deal with defining all the tasks, etc. It's literally just as asking Cloud Code to do certain things, and Claude would just figure out what needs to be done and then does it for you. Now, the third thing that you can sell using Cloud Code, which is selling the most these days, which is some sort of a training and consulting. So what do people need right now whenever they want to roll out Claude? The first thing they need is some sort of an enablement for their developers or even their normal employees if they're rolling out Claude Cowork, for example. They want to know how to set it up well, how to install plugins, how to schedule runs, how to share skills amongst the company. There is so much knowledge and the tool is developing so rapidly that even you as a consultant, you need to keep up with all the new changes and be able to convey these knowledge to the people you're selling it to. And right now, I see that many companies have already rolled out Claude, and the need is not just a basic training of like, how can I use Claude, etc. But there's a very specific need into figuring out how to stop some hallucination that is happening, how to make Claude works on some legacy repository, so something that is already having so much data and not starting from scratch. How do we set up safety guardrails and boxes? These are some of the topics that I hear some of my customers are asking for. And if you understand how to fix these, you will really stand out. Also, if you understand how to roll out a new technology and understand the concepts to roll out new technologies for companies, this would also be super helpful. And by the way, if you want to learn the fundamentals of AI consulting and become an AI expert, I have a special community that would take you from being an absolute beginner into becoming an AI expert and an industry leader in this specific niche. So make sure to check it out. Now, the fourth and last thing that you can sell with Cloud Code right now, which is building and becoming a developer, is either building websites, and you see this happening on YouTube a lot. Everybody's telling you to build these 10K websites. And I believe it's a very easy thing to do. The competition is going to be very strong because everybody can do it super easily. But it's one of the easiest things to do that requires literally very, very minimal technical knowledge. You can pick it up in maybe a week or two, and you just need to be able to sell. And nowadays, the AI is building some really impressive websites. And there are a lot of websites right now, like this one, 21st, where you can build the hero as an animation, which looks super nice and super modern. Depend on the company, and all of this you can do in Cloud Code super easily. The second thing you can sell, which is building actual SaaS products. So building a front end that similar to what I showed you, something that is looking beautiful, and building the back end. So building the databases, etc. And usually the buyer here would be either a small company starting or maybe a solo founder who's looking for a technical partner that you can help build these stuff for them. And here, the only thing that I would say is this is risky. I wouldn't recommend you starting selling SaaS products if you don't understand the programming languages, because the complexity of this app is going to keep growing and growing, and you really need to understand what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to get in trouble with the customers. You might leak some sensitive data. Something bad might happen. So you need to follow the best practices in software development and build something secure and safe. So I would recommend you start to learn the programming languages using AI and slowly build on top of your knowledge. So maybe start somewhere here with the websites. Once you can feel like, hey, I can do this very well, then start learning some databases and start building full SaaS products for people. And the quickest way to find customers here is go to Upwork. You can literally get a customer within 2 weeks. And here your target audience is basically everyone. You can sell to literally anybody. I was one time in a taxi where the taxi driver asked me to build an app for him, and I said no, but that was kind of funny. So the key takeaway from this video is don't start with all four at the same time. I would say pick one strategy, learn the setup, solve some real business bottlenecks, and start selling this one thing. It could be that if you don't want to learn how to develop software, you can sell the training and consulting. This requires you just to be a good teacher, understand the tech, and explain complicated technical knowledge in an easy way. You can develop AI agents for company. This is maybe the hardest one to enter at the moment, because the people who might buy it are small to mid-sized companies. Setting up a second brain is one of the quickest things you can sell right now as well. It doesn't require too much knowledge either. And building websites, I think, is also a very good opportunity, and it's very easy to get started with it as well. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and let me know in the comments which one of these four opportunities resonated with you and you think you can start in 2026. And I'm happy to help you get started with all these opportunities. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.